Laura.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so we're recording now. I'm just going to introduce myself. My name's Kat, and my business is called The Straight Talking Ginger. I like to help entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners, whoever, um, really get under the hood of who they are, their own operating system, and how to create their own blueprint, really, to run their business. I encourage people to find their strengths that we've long lost. We focus on our skill set far too much, and it's really about what we love to do, and how that can make us amazingly productive and super successful. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell. And apologies that my voice is a bit clogged up. I have the cold, but luckily you won't catch any of my bugs. So it's all good. So over to you, Cara.
Thanks. Oh, Andrea, hi. Welcome. So I'm Cara Chase, and I am a social media strategist and coach. And I help small business owners figure out what the heck they need to be doing on social media. I think a lot of small business owners get totally overwhelmed because they're in the business of running their business, and social media, it's a lot, and there's so much information, and everything changes constantly. The industry changes constantly. Platforms update constantly. And it's a lot for one person to do when it's not their business. So I not only help business owners figure out what they need to be doing, but I also have clients where I just do it all for them on a retainer basis. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Before we go any further, mug of the day. Cara, you go first.
Mug of the day. This was a pickup last night from Target.
Mug life. Love it.
Mug life. Your turn.
Mine is a bit more rude, so apologies in advance if anybody's offended.
Rude. It's perfect. This is why we are friends.
It's really sad, but that my husband buys me these. So
it's not sad. It's wonderful.
Again, most people would be offended, but hey, he's right. Well, classy and intelligent, I'm going to claim, and yeah, I do swear a wee bit.
right. No, it's perfect. Anybody that's offended, that's just too bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we pretty much, I mean, obviously we had a break for the holidays, but we pretty much do this every Thursday at the same time, and the purpose of us doing this is to answer people's questions about social media and productivity and social media. Because I think as solopreneurs and small business owners, we're all kind of tired of the meeting people for coffee that want to pick our brains. It's very time consuming, and it is not always the most productive way or the best way to run your business when you're service-based or working with clients. So this kind of started as a way for us to really provide some of that picking our brain knowledge in a really easy platform, because we love Blab. Love it.
Yeah, it is a great platform for that, because we can literally kind of do that open office hours, which I really like. Mm-hmm. Anybody can ask us anything at any time, and it allows us to be of service and give time for free, as you say, rather than doing all that let's go for a cup of coffee, which actually takes up about 3 hours of your time, and then
you have to put on real pants.
Yeah, but it's funny because, again, that makes me laugh, because pants in Scotland means a very different thing. Well, pants is underwear here. So when you guys say pants meaning trousers, like we just think that's really funny. I'm like, real pants? You go commando the rest of the time? Like, what's happening?
Maybe not. I think both would apply.
So it makes me laugh every time. But yeah, so the real pants thing and going out and meeting people for coffee is just, yeah, it's not a good way to do business all the time. I understand it has to happen some of the time. But this is a way for Cara and I on a weekly basis to jump on Blab, great platform. MD can jump in, you can lurk, you can ask questions in the comment field, put a wee Q and then a wee, what do you call that? Splash. And then your question, you can ask comments, questions or anything. Or if you're brave and you want to show your lovely face,
there's an open seat.
There is always an open seat. We will kick you off if we can't be bothered listening. I'm only kidding.
If you take an ass hat, we will kick you off.
Oh, yeah, you're out of there. That's the other thing that you need to know about Cara and I. We're kind of nae fluff, nae BS.
We don't mess around at all. There is no time wasting with us other than the time we waste talking to ourselves. But yes.
But that's all part of it. That's all part of the personality, as I like to tell myself. So today, as we normally do, we have a quick chat before we come on air and decide what we're going to talk about. So whilst our topic is quite consistent about productivity and social media and small business, because that's who we're really supporting, and we want people to know that we're being consistent with that every week. This week, we decided that in amongst all of that, we kind of, as business owners, we can also suffer from a bit of self-sabotage and a bit of self-doubt, where, so this week, for instance, I am preparing for a fortnight's time for going in and doing a bit of a workshop with 40 photography students at a local university. And I'm going in to do a session on people who are thinking about becoming freelancers or small business owners, whatever they're wanting to do. And I like to think I know my stuff. And I love what I do. And it's what we call getting into flow. So it's when you're doing what you really, really love. Time flies, like you're having fun, like you just, it's gone.
Yeah.
But sometimes what happens is you take for granted that you know your stuff and you're good at what you do. So then you suddenly think, what if they find me out that I actually really enjoy this and this isn't
like self-doubt?
Oh, it's like, this isn't work for me. What if they find that out and they're paying me and I'm to undervalue myself?
It doesn't feel like work for me, but the whole, like, it's so second nature that it seems obvious to you. So you really have to remind yourself that it's not obvious to everyone else. Absolutely. Like Facebook ads and Pinterest ads, and it's obvious to me. I do it. It's what I do for clients, but I talk to anybody else and they're like, I don't even know what,
Absolutely. And that's the key thing about it is, whatever it is that you love to do, and this is why I bang on about strengths and profiling people to get their strengths out of them, to find out what's going on, is you have your own unique operating system. So what makes me tick doesn't make somebody else tick or turn them on. And like Cara says, she's all about the social media and on top of that. And I am like, not true. Yeah. So when you're doing that, you're just loving what you do, and you just think, why does not everybody know this?
I'm in the flow because I love talking about it.
Totally.
And it's something that excites me. Andrea, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You could just go on all day long.
Absolutely. And it's that kind of fear moment where that self-doubt kicks in, because I think we all suffer from it. And I kind of coach quite a lot of people based on that one particular thing, because it comes from a place of fear. Sometimes it's a fear of thinking that people will find you out, that, oh my God, I'm charging them for this, and this is really second nature to me. That's a good thing. That's a strength. That's your flow. That's what it's all about. And fear can feed that little voice. I call it the inner critic. That little voice that's like, you're not good enough, and you're rubbish at this. And wait till they find out, and you're like, oh my God.
Well, and here's the interesting thing, especially with this time of the year. People do, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Nice to see you. Dave, you're special. That's funny. People do the whole resolutions, and this is what I'm going to do with my business this year, and they get all excited, and then life happens.
Yeah.
And they realize they're not going to lose 10 pounds in a week, and they're not going to have their taxes done in one day, and they're not going to, and all these, and you get kind of back to that unromantic perception and daily grind.
Yep.
Whereas the perception of this is what I'm going to do is a very romantic notion in your head. And so once life kicks back in, that inner critic starts popping up going, what were you thinking? You're not,
Exactly. And it's funny because we talk about us all the time, and anybody who knows me knows that I am organized within an inch of my life. I project manage to a T. There's a plan. There's usually a color scheme, you know, in that plan. It's beautiful, looks amazing. But you're totally right. Life just goes wham sometimes, and this is why when your inbox, particularly now, is absolutely chock full of people talking about goals and resolutions, and Cara knows this, I go on about, and excuse my friends, people, fuck the goals, get a system, get yourself a system, because that's what's going to back you up when goals are one thing, and it's great to head for stuff, and I still advocate setting goals, but you need to be really realistic with it. And as you say, it's quite an unromantic thing, in the reality of it, and it's great to have big dreams and visions. And again, I totally promote that and advocate that if it's done the right way, because there is a wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what you really need is a system that backs you up when life does go a wee bit skew with and you're not expecting it, because you can have goals all you like, but if you've got nothing to rely on, to whether it's automation or people or whatever it is, you need to systemize as much as you can to kind of help you out of that and stop that inner critic going like.
If anybody knows me, they know that I am all about the checklists. Not even so much organized, because it's not that I'm disorganized.
Yeah.
It's that isn't as functional for me as having checklists that apply to whatever I'm doing. For instance, I could have a daily checklist like I put out for my email list and whatever, the whole daily social media engagement checklist. However, for me and my business, every day of the week is different for me.
Yeah.
So I know that my blogs come out on Monday. So my Monday checklist is going to be heavy on the promotion.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday is going to have a different focus. Wednesday is going to have a different, so every day is different. And I know which days of the week are better or worse for me as far as my energy levels, which is what you talk about. So the days that are worse for me are the days that I'm doing the reading and the self-educating or the whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't have one daily checklist. I literally have a different checklist for each day of the week.
Yeah. And I think that works really well, Cara. And energy is the big thing, and you mentioned it there, and it's something I talk about regularly, is if you've got all those little checklists, so the stuff that that you have to do within that blogging kind of activity, if you like, you can literally lift that out and put it anywhere in your schedule, depending on what your energy is like. So you have a system of what's involved in that particular activity, but it's being able to pick it up like a little piece of jigsaw and slot it in somewhere else where it fits a wee bit better that particular week because of everything else that's going on. And that's what kind of works really well. That's what I find now, although everybody's got their own way of doing things.
Sure.
That particular way of doing it is a really smart way to do it, based on what gives you energy and when your energy is quite low. Because what you don't want to be doing is doing really tough stuff when your energy is like slammed, because I always talk about it, your willpower is not that strong.
Yeah.
we think it is, and we think we can power through, but actually it's not. So you need to work out when your energy is going to be highest and do the kind of crappy stuff, because when you're doing the stuff that you love, you're going to have high energy anyway. You're going to love doing that. Right. So even if you're feeling a wee bit lower at that point, you're still going to get it done because you enjoy doing that particular task. So it's being able to move them around.
And when you try and push through with something that you're not synced with your energy and what your task is, and you're just trying to grit your way through it, that's where that inner critic comes up and is like, oh, fuck all. What are you doing?
Exactly. Why did you think you could manage this? Don't be so stupid. Go and put Netflix on, get your feet up, get a drink. Forget it. Just relax.
I'm not saying that never happens.
Listen, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. I remember the Blab before Christmas. I admitted it was like the 2 or 3 days leading up to that last Blab. I did nothing.
But everybody needs a break.
Oh, and I mean, my brain was still ticking over, whatever. But honestly, and the thing is, I had the cheek to go away for a week on holiday after that. But those 3 days,
How
oh,
dare you?
I know. But yeah, yeah. I mean, part of that, my inner critic was going, "Oh, you're shocking. This is ridiculous. You're misorganized. You tell people, you teach people how to do this, and you're sitting on your backside." Watching White Christmas, I'm like, I know, stop it.
When you realize that you really need to take your own advice, it's like,
Oh no, I've never taken my own advice. Right?
and it's to go back to that. So Kat and I, because we're sisters from another mister, as I like to say,
It's a good time.
and so much of what we talk about overlaps because productivity is kind of a huge umbrella, but social media is, I think Kat would agree, probably the number one, if not in the top three way that business owners lose productivity.
Definitely in the top three. Definitely there.
Yeah, so we're actually creating a course this year. And when we started talking about it, yay! And when we started talking about it, Kat was the one that had to tell me, we already know all this stuff. We've already talked about all this stuff. We just need to repurpose it into a course format. And that for me was like, oh yeah.
It's what you do.
It didn't feel like such a huge undertaking because I realized I'd already done all the content for it to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So when you come up on these things that feel like, okay, I'm going to do this in 2016, or I'm going to try something different, or I'm going to whatever, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed and to feel like,
Yeah.
who am I to take this on? And who am I to get this figured out?
Yeah.
And you have to be very protective and mindful of that conversation that's going on. You'll get sucked into not doing it all day.
Absolutely. It's easy to feel the brain just gets overwhelmed with all this stuff. And we've got this bit in the back of our brain. I'm going to get a wee bit neuroscience there on you people. There's this bit in your brain called the amygdala, and it's your own personal risk assessor. So as soon as something new comes into your kind of world, if you like, it goes, oh, I didn't have a conversation with you about that. And your brain just goes into, oh, wait a minute, when we did this before, this didn't work. And it kind of reverts back to kind of previous experiences. And it's like Cara said, it's that light bulb moment. What you need to do is when you're thinking about something new and you've maybe set yourself a goal, or, just decided that you can create this system for yourself in the new year. Think about what you've already got there already to pull on your own resources. You've got so much stuff that you've probably already done with all your market research in your business and what works and what doesn't work. And some of it is just pulling that together in a different format and in a different way, and being of service to other people. That's really what it's about, because it's not that something didn't work. It's maybe just not been put together in a more comprehensive way that people really need. And Cara and I are very much about how-tos and practical guides, and less about well, here's all about why you should do it. It's like webinars are the big thing for 2016. Everybody and their granny and their granny's dog are doing webinars, right? Yeah. And do you know what? It's brilliant, because we'll probably be doing them as well. But the reality is, when you see all these things learning about webinars, what you really need to be mindful of is, okay, I know that I should be doing webinars. How the heck do I do it? And what are the practical steps to actually put into action? Because you've got all the techie stuff,
right?
All what content needs to go in. So there's a whole load. So just be mindful of that. People, when they're thinking about anything that you're going to do, just get through to a natural conclusion. And it's the how-to, it's the action bit where we're talking about this.
Yep.
Before we come on air, I've got this formula. It has never let me down with clients yet. And strengths plus skills times action equals your flow. And it's all about the action. It just whips things up, because if you're going to write goals down till your heart's content and you don't actually write down what you're going to do, forget it.
Writing things down is so underrated.
Oh,
so underrated.
I always have a pen and a bit of paper.
There is something that happens in your brain when you get it from your brain through your hand in the written word, not typing in an app, not typing on a keyboard. It's a totally different thing. And I find when I feel that overwhelm and that inner critic, where I tend to get stuck is the action steps.
Yep.
Because it feels like there's so much to unravel that I don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
And I either mind map or start writing it out. If I try and like read about how to do it, it doesn't, I might get information, but it doesn't translate to action for me.
Yeah, because you need to see the visual part of it, part of your brain. Everybody's brain works differently. Some people write lists, some people like it in an app, some people like visual, but actually if you combine all three, and as long as you've got that big visual picture, then you can actually see the process almost of where you need to be headed. And then it's almost like a reverse engineering process, right? What needs to happen next to allow me to do that? It's even like writing a sales funnel. It's like, right, okay, you know, the outcome is I want to make a sale, but I need to have a conversation in a relationship before that happens. So what?
Social media.
Yeah. It's in the title, people. Social.
Here's a clue.
Oh, hey, Kathy, your first day on Blab.
Welcome. Yeah, I would love, Andrea, if you're willing, I would love for you to pop on because you wrote your blog yesterday on why you should hire a freelancer. And what I loved about it is, and Kat and I have had this conversation, and I was actually going to do a blog next week on pretty much the exact same thing, but now I'm not going to because you beat me to the punch. Are you there?
He's coming in. Just coming in.
Hi. Because it's hard sometimes when you're selling your services, especially as a freelancer. And I'm sure you run into the same thing. I get the conversation of, well, I'll just hire a VA to tweet 10 times a day for me. And I really don't know what they're tweeting. And it's just filling up space. And that whole conversation of like explaining to people why they should hire you. And I would just love for you to talk because I thought your blog was great.
Yeah, thanks. So it happens way too often. Like, you know, I need to help, but I don't know how to get there. And a lot of people end up, especially for social media, like, oh, I'll just hire my niece. She'll do it. And I'm like, no, that's not okay. Like, this is your business. You have to take it seriously. So yeah, a lot of times, I mean, even hiring an employee can end up being more expensive than outsourcing to a freelancer. Agencies charge massive amounts, and especially the businesses I work with are small businesses, new businesses. You don't need all of that. But it can really save a lot of time. And especially if you get someone who knows what they're doing, I mean, then you don't have to learn it. I mean, it's not difficult by any means, but it is like learning another language. Like, you have to know the ins and outs of individual platforms and how they work, and you have to know, like, you know, what works best, what doesn't, and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what
even as simple as like, don't auto post unless you know exactly how it's functioning and what it's doing and how, you know. And people they just think social media is a box to check and it'll take care of itself.
Yeah. It's way too valuable now in this space, in this world that we live in, to just like forget it or to just take shorts. I mean, it's way too valuable of a tool to use. So yeah.
I always liken it to, it would be like asking for translation services. And me saying, oh, of course I can speak Mandarin.
Yeah.
What? Do you know, that's kind of what it's like for social media. It's like, oh, yeah, I'll just get whoever. Yeah, can you do social media? Yeah, that's fine. And
actually, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all I was going to say. It's just like, it's the same kind of thing. It's people make this assumption that it's just a thing, as you say. It's just like, I see a post and that's what it's about. And Cara and I, we always talk about that analytics thing behind it. That's the thing that gives you the big picture. And that's what you're paying for. It's that expertise and that outcome. Mm-hmm. Because social media, as we've said, is social. It's about having a conversation and building a relationship. And the last thing you want to do is have the wrong brand voice or the wrong things being posted under your name on your behalf. That to me sounds like a disaster.
Well, and I used to, some people know this, some people don't. I used to be the social media manager for I guess you could call him a very well-known band, and the leader of that band, Megadeth and Dave Mustaine. And, he approved everything. We talked pretty much every day about what was going on, but I was actually doing it. And if I messed it up, it looked like it was him.
Yeah.
So having that expertise and not hiring your niece or your, sister's kid that just graduated college and thinks that they know how to do social media as a business. I did a blog months ago about how social media can't stand alone. And the premise of it is that social media is hand in hand with marketing. And if you don't understand the marketing objectives around and behind, what you're trying to achieve, you're wasting your time. You're doing it to do it. And if you're paying somebody, then you're wasting your money too. So, Roth, I saw your comment about how you outsource other social media, but you talk twice a week. I would encourage you, if not already, to let that person in on your marketing objectives and what your goals are, because you can't have a really effective social media strategy without understanding what you're trying to achieve in your business. So
yeah, that's very important, and something that I want to talk about later too, something that you mentioned. And by the way, write your blog post on freelancing and the value of freelancing, because you offer a totally different perspective than I do, right? So still be very valuable. But something that I'm still kind of like brainstorming about is, and something I talk with my clients about, is the social media sales funnel, because you can't just post on social media and expect people to just buy your products. Like, you have to kind of hold their hand and lead them towards your end goal. Yeah. Yeah, you make a very good point about that. I'm still trying to figure out how to make it pleasant for people and not be so like, how can you not understand this? But yeah, that's definitely something that's very important for social media. It's like, you kind of have to have this end goal, and then you have to have steps for people to get there. You can't just post your products all day and be like, buy this. Or like, Kara, you've talked about this before, network marketing. Like, they direct message you and they're like, sign up for XYZ, and it's like, you did this all wrong.
Yeah, it makes me feel bad, not in like a pity way, but in like this is not going to work for you, and I would love for you to be successful, but this is not going to work for you. And I see some network marketers or multi-level marketing people that do a really great job. Like, I wouldn't even know from their Instagram feed that they do some sort of product that they're selling. And then there's other ones that are just like, this month's special, buy one, get one, blah, blah, blah. And they're Facebook messaging people they haven't talked to in 20 years, asking them to come to their online party on Facebook. And it's like,
it just feels a bit, okay, we always say that. It's be the helper, get out there, be of service to other people, give them value. It's relationship marketing at the end of the day. It's not buy my stuff. Did I tell you to buy my stuff?
Right?
People are just going to go, I'm going to rip my ears off, I'm going to throw them away, I'm going to take my eyeballs out because I just can't be bothered reading it anymore. Right. And it's that conversation. We say it all the time. I like you, Andrea, I get a bit frustrated because I kind of think, why is nobody understanding this? We talk about it all the time. We're educating you. Why do you not understand? But it's back to what we were talking about right at the beginning. It's so common sense for us who are doing certain things in our businesses, but not everybody gets it. And you're constantly doing that education. And that can be a wee bit draining sometimes. But yeah, that's really the point. You need to keep educating people.
So here's an interesting question, since we're on, and Kat, I think you can speak to this really well, and Andrea too. When you're trying to educate somebody on like, this is what I do, this is the knowledge that I have. This is why you're paying me and what you're paying me for, and they just don't get it. At what point do you say, cool, have a nice life, good luck?
That's a good one.
Yeah, Andrea, do you want to go first?
Yeah. A lot of this happens in the initial phone call, because it's not just, you hire me and I work for your stuff. Like, it has to be a good fit for my business as well. I'm not going to work with someone who's not, like, I'm not helping them at all, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense to take your money if there's no value at the end of it, right?
Right.
So that's a lot of the conversation that I have up front is like, this is what I do, and here's what you want. Maybe the two don't line up. So, I just have that conversation up front. And if, like, initially I go off my gut, like, if it's not going to fit, I give them other options. Like, here's where you can find other freelancers, or here's, maybe we want to do these steps first before starting social media. That's kind of where I take it, is like that first phone call. And I love to do Skype calls, because I like to see people's faces. And I feel like a lot of stuff gets misinterpreted through emails, and especially through voice and text conversation. So that, I get rid of that, like, first conversation, even if we have to have a couple calls, because, like, there's so many misconceptions about social media and how it helps your business and how it's valuable to your business. And a lot of people think, I need 10,000 Instagram followers and that's suddenly going to turn into sales. And that's just not how it works. I have that conversation up front, and hopefully that alleviates some of the tension with, like, they don't understand, or that sort of thing. A lot of people who are looking for what I offer, which is social media, they kind of understand a little bit of that already, because they're already looking for it.
Right.
I don't really talk to people who aren't interested in it, so it's a little bit of a warm sell already.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe I'll run into that in the future if I start branching out into, like, approaching people with, like, cold,
right.
understand if they need it or not, that sort of thing.
Pat, what do you think about the whole, like, face-to-face, at least via Skype, to get that, like, base level jive?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very much about, I think Kara and I have spoken about this before. I'm always having about 2 or 3 conversations in my head when I'm speaking to somebody, because I'm reading the body language. I'm listening to what they're saying and how they're, I know, it's like, profiling is what I do. It's my background. I used to profile bad people for a living, so I can't help it. I can't switch it off. My gut plays a huge part in that discussion. And probably like you, Andrea, I have that initial conversation where I have probably a certain kind of list of questions that I try and qualify people on. And if it doesn't feel like a good fit, it's hard to walk away sometimes, because as a small business owner, every penny counts. So you've almost got that temptation of, I'll just do it. But I always kind of advise people just don't, because it's back to that rule of, if your gut's telling you it's a wrong fit, both for you and for that other person, you are going to create a world of pain, and there's going to be this complete disconnect, and you're going to spend probably 80% of your time dealing with that particular client, and it leaves a kind of bad taste in your mouth. And what you don't want is a really bad testimonial, because you've made the wrong call on that as well. So you need to take responsibility about it. But yeah, like Andrea said, I do the same thing. If I think it's not a fit for me, then there are other people or other services that I can maybe point them to in terms of coaching and profiling. And I think that kind of eases the pain a wee bit for people, because then you're not leaving them high and dry. You're not kind of saying, no, you're never going to be able to do it. But you maybe know a person that's a better fit for them. And I'm all about that, finding that right fit, because if it goes horribly wrong, and actually conversely, if you get the ideal client, wow, it's a dream. It's back to what we were talking about. It's that, this is why I went into business. This is why I love what I do. And you get the perfect client, and you just, never mind them giving you a testimonial, you're giving them a testimonial about the type of person that they are to work for. Gut for me is a big player in making that decision. And exactly that, a Skype call or a conversation of some description, and then follow up with the detailed email. I'm all about the detailed email about, here's what we agreed to.
Right.
Can we just double check that?
Right, that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, totally.
Well, and here's the other thing, going back to the inner critic thing. When you are talking with a prospective client and you're having a really great conversation and you're talking and you're laughing and you're on the same page, it makes you feel like, holy shit, I do know what I'm doing. And somebody does want to, it's kind of this self-fulfilling cycle.
Yeah.
And wasting time on people that aren't on the same page that you're on, it inhibits that, and it definitely brings up more of that inner critic, because you're thinking, why can't I sell to them? Yeah. Even though it probably has nothing to do with you, and then you start doubting yourself.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle to that. If you start to feel that way about yourself, you start to doubt your ability to run your own business and to know your own stuff. And I think what you need to be really careful of is exactly that, getting carried away sometimes in a conversation because you love what you do. You need to be constantly reading what's going on with the other person. What's their face doing? Are they asking the right questions? Are they responding to the things that you're saying? So that you're not just like, you leave and you think, oh, that was fantastic, and this is going to be a great fit, and actually it's a terrible fit because you've not really
paying attention.
Yeah, and it's what you said, Andrea. It's just that does it line up and on the same page? It's exactly that, and then you've got your kind of dream situation, hopefully.
Right. Well, I am lucky enough to have one of those dream clients that's amazing, and she's actually local. She's the only local client that I have, and our very first conversation after we met at a networking thing and she got my card, she called me right away. She's very much an action taker like I am. She's like, okay, I know I need this. Got this card, come in, let's talk. And I went, and the conversation was basically me laying down like, social media is about brand affinity and awareness. It is about supporting your marketing objectives. It's about being very clear and strategic, analyzing what you're doing. It is not about how did this Instagram post lead to, like, what are the sales that came out of this post? It doesn't work that way. This is what I can do. This is my philosophy. And she was like, I love what you're putting down. Here's a check. And every month it's, here's a check. You're awesome. I'm so excited about what we're doing. And I totally see the difference this is all making.
Yeah.
You can't get better, like, feel good. Yes, I do know what I'm doing than that. I mean, truly.
That's it. It's building brand ambassadors, isn't it? That's really what you're looking for. It's building that kind of rock star team, really, that will shout about what you do from the heaven. Right. And it's such a good feeling, because then you're going to get real, authentic, hate that word, testimonials from people, and they're going to shout about what you do. And that's why you went into business ultimately. Andrea, right. Can I just ask you, so you do social media as well, but you do blogging for other people as well?
Yeah, so I started out kind of like as a content community manager, but as I've been freelancing for almost 2 years now, as a social media is like a bigger need there. So a lot of my clients are just social media based, and then sometimes I'll do blogging for them. So I'm starting to do that a little bit more now as well, because it really helps. If you want to drive traffic back to your website, having a blog post every week is one of the best ways to do it. And then emails, of course. People don't check Instagram every day, but they email every day. So, those are some of the things that I do for people as well. But it all starts with social media. That's the starting point. And then layering in things like blog posts and emails just helps. It makes my job easier if I can do these things for you anyways, to kind of like boost everything up and make sure everything's working together smoothly.
I've had that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kat.
Can I just ask? So what I'm really interested in is, we always talk about when you're doing, Cara always tells me when she's doing that social media for somebody else, it's stepping into their voice. How the heck? I'm thinking a blog's quite a long thing to do on a regular basis. So how do you flip between different brand voices? Is that easy, or is it, how the heck is that?
It's not easy. But my niche helps because I mostly spoke focus on lifestyle businesses. So it'll be like fashion brands or beauty brands, some fitness as well. Like I have a travel blogger who I do stuff for as well. So it kind of helps that those are all similar. Like I'm not talking about like a dentist office or like a law firm or something like that, because I would be in the wrong place at that point.
Before I started my own business, I did some side contract work for a friend of mine who had a social media business, and one of the blogs that I did was for an accountant, for a tax preparer, and it was like,
wow,
it's dry. I tend to stick towards like the pretty and the fun stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
But here's the other thing, like when I have conversations, so I will blog if I have to, but it's definitely not my first. Like I'm happier saying, here's a year's worth of blog topics, here you go, than actually doing it. Because it is draining, and it is like you kind of have to step into their brand voice, and it's a lot. It's like doing a final paper the night before it's due in college kind of thing. And I mean, I'm right? Yeah. So, but I tell them when I start having that initial conversation of, if you're not going to blog, you could still take advantage of social media, but it's not going to be nearly as effective.
Yeah.
Like it's up to you. If you're going to pay me to do it, you're going to pay me a premium, because it's probably my least favorite thing to do, but somebody has to do it. I mean, again, you'll still get a return on social media, but it won't have nearly the oomph and the engagement as doing a blog.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I started doing, like talking about layering in, I realized really quickly when I started my business that I needed to help people with their websites.
Mm-hmm.
Because social media's purpose is to drive traffic to the properties that you own, your email list, your website. And if their website sucks and it doesn't have a way of capturing emails, and it isn't up to par in any way, the social media is pointless.
Yep. Yeah, that's something that I do as well. Website setup. I mean, I don't call it design because I'm not a designer, but I do have places where I outsource too. So like for, logo design, I have someone who can help me with that, but I still set up like WordPress or Squarespace websites for some of my clients as well, because you can't, it's almost pointless to start on social if you don't have a way of capturing people's attention on your web wall, or like a central location where people can see what you're all about, right?
Right.
So yeah, it definitely helps to have that in place, because it's almost, I mean, it's impossible to be successful on just social media alone. And did I write a blog post about this, or was this a Periscope? I was doing something about social media can't exist in a vacuum. It can't, I mean, you're not going to be successful just having like one Facebook page and that's all you have for your business. Like, I mean, it's going to be really challenging to get
really
that way.
Yeah, and the platforms, as a lay person in social media, the platforms shift like tectonic plates every other day. It's like I stopped worrying about it, because it's not my thing. It's not what I do, and that's when I leave it to professionals like you guys. Because you would drive yourself mad, and it touches on what Cara and I have spoken in the past about why it's really important to hire a professional in your business. And whilst that can be really difficult at the start of having a small business and you're hustling and every penny counts, it's so important to very quickly figure out, right, what is it I need to be focusing my time on that I'm great at?
Right.
And what can I bring to the party in terms of my skill, and then whack out and farm out whatever else the heck I can, rather than wasting 30 hours of my time in a digital rabbit hole trying to find the answer to how to get engagement on Pinterest, and then they change the rules. It's like
I would estimate that I spend probably 25 to 30% of my work time reading and educating myself on the latest and greatest and what's going on. Because if you fall out of the latest and greatest, you're left behind like that. I mean,
I don't know how you keep up, and it's your business.
No, yeah, it's what we do all day. I mean, I just joined Snapchat too as a business. And it's like, overwhelming me a little bit. But
that's a hard one to get like in your groove with. It really takes a lot of very consistent and persistent effort to really kind of get in the groove of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I've used it for personal before, and I used it. I had a fashion blog last year. I used it for that as well. But using it for business is different than using it for personal, and so that's one of those challenges. It's like I've had a couple clients ask about it, and I completely dismissed it before, like, you don't need Snapchat. But Gary Vaynerchuk changed my mind with his recent like push for Snapchat. So I was like, let me learn it. The worst that can happen is that Snapchat will fall apart and it won't matter. But if it does catch on, I don't want to be behind, right? Like, exactly. That's what we have to do as social media people is like, we have to stay ahead of all these changing trends and everything that changes.
But funnily enough,
when I worked for the social media agency that I worked for before I started my own business, that was when I first got on Snapchat because they were starting to use it for businesses. And it's yet another illustration of the difference between knowing how to use a platform for personal use and for business, which is why you hire an expert and not some kid that's like, pay me $10 an hour and I'll Snapchat for you. Why? What are you going to do with it, and how are you going to do it, and how is that going to help my business? I guarantee you they can't really answer that. They just get paid.
And that's the type of professional that I want to, employ, is bring somebody on who is keeping themselves up to speed with whatever's going on and the changes that are happening. Because even when Blab first came out, and obviously it's even still in a beta stage as well, Cara and I, Blab's there. Have you seen this? Cara's straight on it. Kat, you're coming on. I'm like, oh, are we? Oh, I don't really know what.
Come join me.
Oh my God, kicking and screaming. And it's been one of the best things because certainly my engagement goes up. It allows you to have other conversations. You meet amazing people. People jump in all the time, like your good self, Andrea. Now getting to meet you like properly face to face rather than our amazing group. So you get to meet different people. And again, it's back to that social thing. It's about having a conversation. Relationship marketing, and actually it gives people a really good idea of what it's like to work with you as a person. So it's kind of like, you don't want to be sitting here plugging your stuff all the time, but it's a way for people to work out. I mean, I'm always quite upfront. My brand is called the Straight Talking Ginger for a reason. It's kind of no fluff, and if you're not ready to work with me and me to give you a right good kick up the bahookie, then I am not I'm not the person for you, and I'm very clear about that. I'm not going to like give you a hug and say, oh, well, let's just try again next week. No, we're taking action. We're doing it today, and that's what's happening, and I'm holding you accountable. So it gives people.
This is why we are friends.
Exactly. And it's like people go, no, not really, Kat, lovely, but no, don't inflict it upon me. And that's cool. But because I like that, and Blab's great for that kind of way of putting your personality out there, and people really get a feel for what you're like to work with and what you're all about.
Well, and I think going back to the whole inner critic thing, which trying to keep in the headspace that we decided we were supposed to be in arbitrarily 10 minutes before our Blab, is when you outsource to experts, you get back to the business of your business instead of, I've got to spend all day doing my taxes and I don't know what I'm doing. And this is awful and I hate it, but I have to do it. And then you start that whole negative self-talk and all the, whatever, sticking to doing, and everybody's at a different place. I can outsource my taxes, but I can't outsource my bookkeeping yet, so everybody kind of gets to their level and whatever. But slowly taking chunks out of what you need to be productive and what you're best at helps boost that positive self-talk and get rid of the inner critic, because you're constantly giving yourself that. I guess it would be positive reinforcement would be the term.
It's proven that you should be focusing on your strengths. And right, what we said at the beginning, Cara, when you're talking about social media, you get so animated about it, and it's your passion and you love what you do, and the time's just clicking by.
Yep.
And there's no wee voice in your head until you let that, until you maybe stop and you think, there's maybe a wee tiny bit of self-doubt creeps in sometimes. But on the whole, it keeps the volume down. I always think the inner critic is never going to go away. But if you can turn the volume down on it a little bit, and get on with what you need to be getting on with. And the only way you can do that is to stop doing the things that you're rubbish at. And folks, here's a hint, and here's the truth. It's okay to not be great at everything.
Yes.
What?
I have told you, I have imparted my wisdom.
I want to bounce off of that real quick. I have to go in a second, but I'm totally on board with that, because when you start doing the things that you love doing, right, and not wasting your time on the things that you just have to do, I feel like that grows your business exponentially, because it shows to your business like a positive, vibe, I guess. Just people can see that, people can tell. And I say that just because it's true for my business. Like, even just this year, I rebranded my website. I redid everything so that it fit more with me and my personality. And people relate to that. Even as a business, like your brand's personality, your brand's look and feel, how people view it online, and that sort of stuff. Like, when you start focusing on that aspect of it, it just multiplies. Like, I don't know what a magic juice or whatever happens, but it happens.
Mojo.
Yes, mojo. So yeah, definitely, I totally agree.
And it feels easier, and this is the thing that we make so hard for ourselves. We think that we need to be great at everything because society dictates that, we test all the time, and it comes right from school and education. It's like, you need to be good at this, and if you're not doing this well, then we're going to train you to do that better. But I always say, why don't we train for the things that we're fantastic at already? Could you imagine if we all got extra courses on the stuff that we love to do when we were at school, or the things that really made our heart sing, as opposed to kind of a cheesy way? But that's the reality. We don't do that. We always train for weaknesses rather than what your strengths are, and then it feels easy. So rebranding and stepping into your brand voice and being more you, Andrea, is exactly the right thing to do. And do you know what? See all the stuff that we're rubbish at? That's okay. Somebody else can do that. Find
somebody else can do it.
Find somebody else to do it. Absolutely. Yeah. No, brilliant.
But it has been so much fun hanging out with you guys. Hopefully I'll jump on here at some point in the future as well. So keep up with the work.
Yes. Please do. We loved having you, and great blog post.
I'm going to catch up on that. I haven't read it, but it's so lovely to meet you, Andrea.
OnlineDrea.com, if I can myself a shout out for a sec.
Andrea.com.
Yeah, so I'll type it in here too if you guys want to check it out. If not, sure. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the flip side.
Take care. Bye.
See ya. I just had a thought and it went away.
I know, I watched you. I could actually see the call.
You could actually see it happen. It was like,
and then it.
Yep.
No, I'm really glad that Andrea said that about our brand and rebranding and everything, because it's such a clear point when we're starting out, especially when we are starting out. We're kind of drawn in so many different directions, and it's shiny object syndrome.
And you try to, you look at other people that are successful and you try and emulate.
Yeah.
Because everybody's selling you on this formula for success and what they did and whatever. And so you try and copy, and you talk about this a ton, which I love. And it's not you. And so it doesn't feel, and again, I don't like this word either, authentic. It's not your deal.
It's not, and people pick up on it. It's like what we talk about when we meet people. And it's the conversations that you're having at the same time, with the body language and the eyes and everything that's coming out their mouth. It's the same thing that if people are reading your emails or your blogs, if you're not being you and you're replicating somebody else's style because you think it's working for them, so it has to work for me, it doesn't work like that, because people can pick up on the tone, even if it's just in an email or in a post or in a tweet. It doesn't matter. if you're replicating somebody else, and I understand it's an easy trap to fall into, you know, when we follow all these big entrepreneurs who are tremendously successful, obviously it gives you a starting point. And we've always said role models are a really good thing to have as long as it's the right role model. But what you also need to be aware of is you need the right role model for your particular operating system. So there's no point in trying to go out and sell jazz hands style if you're an introvert like me. But it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, if I was in front of a big presentation and start plugging my stuff, people would be like, boo, get off, don't get it, you know. Whereas doing it from an introverted point of view, one-to-ones or through email marketing, that works really well for me as an introvert. So you need to maximize what it is that you're good at and your brand voice in your way, and still have role models, and that's fine. But yeah.
Well, and that's an interesting point, because I think you and I, you know, obviously with my background in law enforcement as well, and while I wasn't a profiler, I conducted hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of interviews of bad people. You and I are more consciously aware of everything that's going on, so we can pick up on it and verbalize what's going on really easily. But everybody has some level of instinctual awareness when something doesn't match up.
Yeah.
Whether they realize that that's what they're picking up on or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did remember what my thought was going to be, and it was about the rebranding. The best compliment yet that I have gotten about my journey with my business and everything that I've been doing is when I did a guest post, and someone that's in the group that we're in on Facebook commented on the guest post that she knew it was me before she even realized I was the author.
Yeah. And that's a biggie, you know.
That's what it's all about. And when I parted ways with that social media agency because they literally told me I was too focused and too black and white, I was like, well, yeah, I am actually. And I'm so okay with that. And that is what I'm all about. And that's what I'm going to go do.
Yeah. You have to, I see it too often, people kind of try and censor themselves when they're writing. And I know that my writing is how I speak.
Yep.
It's not necessarily grammatically correct. I make typos.
It doesn't matter. It's,
you know,
when you take liberties with spelling as far as enunciation and whatever, people hear it in their head, and so they can hear your voice.
Well, I always say, have you ever watched Shawshank Redemption?
Oh yeah.
Right. So oh God, I've just forgotten his name. Not the guy that plays Andy Dufresne, the other guy who plays Big Red. What's his name? It's not Samuel L. Jackson, it's the other one.
Morgan Freeman.
God, why his name just went out of my head, I have no idea. But anyway, you've just said Morgan Freeman, I bet you can hear his voice. Right? So that's what you're really aiming for. It doesn't matter what people say, you're aiming for that, your voice. And it's really funny, you know, the amount of people that are obviously now realizing that I have this very broad Scottish accent, and especially in the group that we're in. It's so funny because I now know when they're reading that, they're hearing
exactly
crap, you know, all those Scottish words and all my hilarious pronunciations of things. And that's really what you're aiming for, is to people immediately recognize and resonate with your voice and your style.
It's brand recognition.
It's the ultimate recognition. Yeah, I think that's great.
When I onboard with clients after we've had the initial powwow and they've said, yes, I'm in, and I say, okay, that detailed, like, this is what you need, this is what I'm going to do, are we on the same page? The first thing I send them is their brand voice worksheet. Because having worked for a celebrity and tweeting and posting and everything as a very cult of personality type person, I have to know how they see themselves in their brand voice in order to effectively do that social media for them. And it's literally as like, how many exclamation points is too much for you?
Yeah.
But it's important, all of those little things.
So question for you, interesting. Again, I just had a bit of a moment there when you were talking, and I'm trying to retain it quickly. So you send them how they see their brand voice. But sometimes I find that some people don't perceive themselves the same way that
True.
others. So how do you get around that? Because you think, yeah, I'm coming across as really happy-go-lucky, and actually they're the farthest thing
Right.
from. How do you do that?
Some of that is my own research. So obviously, having done what I've done, I am research is like breathing to me. So I do my own brand research to see what they've done, where they're at. And if there's a huge disconnect between what they come back to me with and what I'm picking up on from my own research, we'll have a conversation about it. And it's not you're full of it, you don't get it, you're whatever. It's more, it comes across as more me asking clarifying questions.
Yeah.
It's something that I pick up on from my own research versus what they come back to me. But I will say that I have yet to have a client that there's a huge disconnect to the point where I'm like, this is going to be really tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the time they're at least most of the way there.
Yeah, it's just because I know that, when I'm coaching clients, there's sometimes, when I profile them and they'll come out as a certain profile, one of 8 profiles. And you can see them thinking,
Really?
No, that's not me. For instance, there's always polar opposites. So you've got the people who are great at the big strategy stuff and the big idea stuff, who are kind of in the top. I'll call them the head in the clouds people. And then you've got the people at the bottom who are very grounded, not the timing and the deadlines and the details and everything else.
Right.
And the details person who's like, but I can come up with ideas. And I have to write a strategy. And you're like, no, that's not what I'm saying. It's kind of like, is that your thing?
Right.
Or is that just something that along the course of doing jobs and career paths that you have adapted and learned to do? Because let's face it, every job description is, here is everything we expect to do, whether you want to do it or not, and any other duties as required, i.e. anything.
All other duties as assigned.
Right. So they're never going to be your thing, your strength. Right. They're never the reason why you applied for that job in the first place. So we adapt our skills to be able to do the big strategy if we're not a strategy person. But actually, is that who you are? Probably not 90% of the time. And it's really interesting trying to have that conversation about, well, where do you see yourself? If that's not where you fit, or that's not where you feel that you fit in terms of a profile.
Right.
And you can guarantee by the end of that conversation, they're like, oh, God, actually, And
it's interesting. And it kind of goes back to what you were talking about how in our education system, and even post-education, we tend to have this thing around, well, I need to get better at what I'm not good at. Yeah. And I need to learn how to do my accounting and taxes. And I need to learn how to,
Yep.
You should always have some level of awareness in some location, but somebody like I can come up with campaign ideas for celebrities and all day long. But sitting down and figuring out the details, I can do it because that's how you take action and get things done, but it's not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, because you've now skill set to allow yourself to do that.
Right. That's really interesting. I love that. So, I'm going to assume, of the Strengths Finder book, program, whatever. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about that.
Well, I did the Strengths Finder before I went on to do the profiling that I actually do. And for me, I liked it, but there was big gaps in the so what next. That's always the questions I ask. So very good knowing what your strengths are or what your profile is or whatever, whether it's Myers-Briggs or Strengths Finder, and they're all based on the same principles. But for me, there's always that gap of, right, well, what does that mean for me in the real world and for what choices are?
What do I do with
it? Because you've got, come out with certain strengths. So again, whether it's Myers-Briggs or whatever you do, it'll come out with, outcomes of report, a lovely report, and it needs to be referred to. But the problem is, for me, it never filled the gap. None of those kind of activities filled the gap in terms of, okay, Cara, you're doing social media. Is that the right thing for you? Are you thinking about a career change? Or actually, if that's absolutely where you should be, how can you leverage that and maximize all your strengths and focus to make sure that you get as much out of that and you love your job as much as possible, and you know, you're giving value and service and making as much profit. And that for me is always the bit that's missing, because that's why I went on to do the profiling that I do. It takes it very nicely into the real world to say, okay, your unique situation, what can you do about that? What can you do with that information? So yeah, it is. They're all based on the same kind of guiding principles. Same, it's Carl Jung years ago. Same personality questionnaire questions, but ultimately it's the so what next factor that interests me.
Well, and that goes back to our conversation when we've talked about putting together our course that's going to launch in spring. Is okay, you can talk and educate people all day long about productivity in your business. I can talk and educate people all day long about how to use social media effectively for their business. But the third part of it is going to be how do you put all of that information into action, and how do you actually use it? Yeah,
it's the how-to part of it. It's the practical steps that we're both interested in, you know, because you can teach theory all day and you can teach your thoughts all day and your expertise all day, but so what next is always that, what do I do with it? How can I actually go and apply that in my real life? And you've got people from different service backgrounds, so whether it's social media or whether it's coaching or health or whatever the heck it is, it's been able to apply those principles whatever service area or product or whatever you do in your business, so that you've got something that you can take action on and actually go away at the end of that course that we're putting together and say, actually, I learned something, I can now actually go and put it into practice.
That should be the name of our third module, is so what next?
Write it down.
Also, all other duties as assigned needs to be part of our phraseology. If I never hear that again for the rest of my life from an employer, that will be okay. Specifically, the man being the government. All other duties as assigned. Really? Okay. I'll dig through a dumpster at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sure.
And actually, the laugh is that the career path that we have chosen in terms of entrepreneurship, it is any other duties as required, because we're doing everything. You know.
Oh, universe. Well played, universe. Well played.
It's like, I actually wanted that, universe. Thank you for that. Absolutely.
Yes.
But yeah, we are the man instead of the man being somebody else.
I'm just writing this down so I don't forget either.
What are you writing down?
All other duties as assigned.
Oh, see, I see as required. Same thing. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And what was the other thing that we just said? So what next?
Yeah. Oh, great. These light bulb moments that come to us when we're blabbing away.
I know. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be great, because that, as I say, we don't normally come on here and plug our stuff, but because we're so excited about the wee mini collaboration that we're going to do, it's absolutely all about the what next and here's how to do it, rather than here's a bunch of theory, good luck with that, people. You know, away you go and try your hardest. No, it's going to be step by step.
Well, and I'm sure you're in the same boat. And did we talk about this at the beginning of the Blab or pre-Blab, about the information overload from experts here and business people there and formulas and let me show you how to, and hi, Amy Jo. And you get overwhelmed because it is so much theory and it is so much, here's what worked for me, here's how I did it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always translate into your business, your lifestyle, your strengths and what you excel at doing in your business.
No. And it's how a lot of people make money online, and I understand that. They teach you how to do what they've learned to do, but they're teaching you in their style, and their style might just not be the same as yours, and that's where people struggle. That's why they can't work out. Like, I've paid quite a lot of money and invested in myself and paid a lot for a course, and then I'm not getting the results or the return on my investment that I thought I was going to get. And the reason is because you're not the same type of person. You're not the same personality type. So you can learn the theory till the cows come home, but when you actually put it into application, you need to use your own, and I'll say it again, folks, your own personal blueprint. It's your own operating system. Cara and I will kind of know it from a previous life as your modus operandi. Again, that'll be something that'll be in our course, no doubt, your MO. Write it down. But that's the point. It's your own MO of doing something. We don't all sell the same way. We don't all want to be sold to the same way. We don't all, get the same people to do our taxes. Some of us know a wee bit about it, and some people farm the whole thing out. That would be
right.
me. And that the irony is, just to touch on that skill thing where it gets a bit mixed up. In a previous life, I actually ran budgets for a number of educational establishments in the public sector, and I can account to save myself. Now, was I good at it? Yeah, because I learned and I had coping mechanisms.
Right.
Did I like it? No, I hated every bloody minute of it.
Right.
Because it's not what I like to do. It's not my strength. So you can learn things along the way. And that's great, but not everybody learns the same things, and not everybody has the same strengths. And the real key to kind of getting your business up and moving is to find the people that fill the gaps in your strengths. So rather than you get away and, as we've always said, going down the kind of digital rabbit hole of, I'll just do this one more article, and I'll just check another Pinterest board for a how-to, and I'll just do this. And nope, just find key people that fill those gaps and hang on to them.
Right.
Hang on to them, and then that will fill the gap. So you don't need to know everything, and you don't need to know everything. So yeah.
Right. And I don't know many small business owners. I mean, like I said, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, I spend probably 25 to 30% of my time educating myself on the latest and greatest in social media. So I know what I'm doing for my clients, and I'm up to speed. I don't know. And I do that for a business.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of small business owners that have 25 to 30% of their time to educate themselves, but it's social media is still in this trying to climb up to get over that hump of the general population understanding how immensely important and valuable doing social media the right way is, and how invaluable it is when you're just doing it to check a box and it's not doing anything for you.
Yeah, and it's a vanity measure at the end of the day. If you're only looking for a number of likes or a number of followers, you're missing the point with social media, and it's not a good use of your time. So for me to sit and learn about every social media platform, and that's not my gig, it's not my business, it's certainly not my strength, is a complete waste of my time. And what I always say to new business owners, or even people who are 2 or 3 years down the line and now considering looking at social media or whatever it is that you're not great at, if you sit and work out the number of hours that you've spent researching, reading, trying to learn, trying to educate yourself, and you apply your own hourly rate to that number of hours, wow, that's how much you're spending or wasting, rather than bringing in a professional who could have it done like that. And as I said, we always talk about we all hustle, every penny counts. We can't afford to bring in a whole load of, experts at the very beginning. We understand that, but very quickly you need to work out where you do need to bring an expert in, because you're just not, you're wasting your time, ultimately wasting your time. It's where you need to focus.
Yep. I did a video before the Christmas break that I didn't end up having time to put out because of all the family stuff and whatever, that I'm talking about how most people have this perception, specifically of social media, of it's either an intern or VA job or it's an agency job, and how those are not your only two choices. And the benefit of hiring a freelancer like myself that actually knows what they're doing is you're getting this huge level of expertise that someone that hasn't done it for years doesn't have, but you're not paying for the overhead and the loft space and the ping pong table when you're really getting the intern that they've hired for $25,000 a year anyway. And I think that's probably going to be my blog next week, is that video.
But it's a really good point, because most people won't realize that. And it's funny, I think you talked about it in the last Blab briefly, and it hadn't really twigged with me. Although I wouldn't go out and hire one of those big agencies to do social media for me, it hadn't really dawned on me that even though you think you're paying for this, this dedicated person, it is the intern, it is the kind of newbie, let's face it. So you're, it just doesn't, the pay.
And I worked for an agency, and I saw how it all happened, and it was like, how?
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to say too much about it, obviously. But, you know, these companies that are paying out the wazoo for agency social media, and they meet with the head of the company or the senior person or whatever, and everybody feels great, and they sign the contract and they sign the check, and then the senior person or the head immediately farms it off to the bottom level, whatever, and says, check this box every week, give them some fuzzy reporting that looks good and is going to make them feel good, and keep the check coming, or you're going to lose your job that I'm only paying you $25,000 a year for anyway.
It's what we always say. I would rather pay to understand. I can't just let somebody do something. I need to kind of have a basic understanding of what's going on. And you want somebody who knows the analytics, knows how to not just, as you say, it's not just about posting on social media or doing your thing. It's just not enough. It's not engagement. It's not a relationship. It's not a conversation. And
it's not in line with marketing.
Being in line with marketing, isn't it? And it's, you really want somebody who's able to challenge you and come back and say, actually, what you think you want as an outcome, here is an alternative. Let's have a discussion about that and see if that fits better. Because I think, I mean, obviously, I don't know what your conversations are like with clients, Cara, but I would assume that knowing myself, I would go in thinking, right, here's what I think the outcome should be, because I'm coming at it from a place of limited knowledge. But then asking you as an expert, you'd be able to say, actually, that's not what will work for you. This is what will work for you. And here's the options or a proposal or whatever, based on what it is that you understand about my business and from your expert background. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the right outcome.
Yep. I had a client come to me that she had started a Twitter account, and she had paid for my kind of bottom level, you know, just assessment. Like, here's where you're at. Here are my suggestions. Here's what you should do. Here's how to do it. Not a full, complete custom strategy, but just an assessment. And the first thing I said was, you should not be on Instagram. Instagram is not the platform for you. You'd be far better off focusing on these two, and this is your third option for when you master these two. Instagram is really pretty and it's fun for people, but for her business, it was not the right target, because it's not about what she feels like doing. It's about where her clients are.
Yeah, and that's it. We spoke about this way at the beginning when we first had our very first conversation to get to know one another. And the light bulb for me about Pinterest now, to be fair, I've not kind of went back. I need to get back onto that. However, understanding what that platform was about a how-to platform.
The visual
and that's
how
really
to.
what I want to offer people.
And that's
it's
what
the
you're
how-to
teaching.
bit of it. It's not the, oh, well, here's another topic area and good luck, you know. And the thing is, I mean, some of the stuff that I teach in one of the courses I do, you know, it's pretty heavy stuff because it's cybersecurity, and, you know, it's kind of like, oh God, I don't really want to know about that, but I know that I need it for my business. When they start to understand a wee bit of that educating thing of, oh, crikey, you mean my website could get hacked quite easily? Yeah, it could. So it's giving people easy how-tos without scaring them, but also using Pinterest as that how-to platform. And when I first started to use it and I was testing it out, my traffic went up, and that was great advice from you, because I hadn't really again, it was one of those platforms I just went, oh,
I do know what I'm talking about.
That's why we're friends. But it's just that light bulb moment of having somebody who knows what they're doing to tell you, no, don't do that, do this. And you're, all right, okay, I'll give that back. So yeah, it's just that's what you're looking for.
It's very interesting you should say that about cybersecurity. Because I don't know if you looked on my website, but one of the things that I offer, I haven't pursued it. It hasn't been a focus, but teaching parents how to keep their kids safe on social media. Because I have worked child crime cases. So that could be yet another area for you and
that's why I was
explore.
asking you a whole lot of questions about your space and whatever. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we got some.
Hold on. Hello.
Are you
there? Hello.
And we've got a bit of a lag as well. Oh, you're not coming through, Maria. You know Maria?
Maria, I know your name from somewhere and I can't place it right now. Not coming through. I'm going to kick you. I'm going to close it and then try and come in again. Are you sure you want to kick it? I think so. Okay. Try it again. If you want to. I know your name. Anyway, yeah. Business owners that aren't aware of computer and security issues is a big thing.
Massive. And that's why I asked you a whole lot of questions about Squarespace, because WordPress is a different beast, and WordPress you need to be doing things on there that most people don't do. And the thing is, again, given my background and my still contacts that I have, one of the biggest areas that are being targeted at the moment for hacking and lifting details and getting into people's websites is small business owners, because they know they're just starting out. They know the first thing that they do is try and get a website up and running and no clue how to protect it. But people think, but I'm not storing details. I'm not kind of, I've got all my email subscribers and MailChimp, and I'm not taking any credit card details. But the point is, what's bigger than that is reputational damage, because what they do is they get in, and whilst they can't lift details, they'll point your site at a porn site, and before you know it, your reputation's damaged overnight, and you can't get that back.
So when I worked for the agency, who will remain unnamed, we had a client that was a big cruise line that will remain unnamed. And the kiddo that was the community manager in charge of posting the content clicked on a phishing link on Facebook, and hackers, whatever you want to call them, Trojan horsed into the company's Facebook page and started posting a bunch of porn and locked them out, and they couldn't. It took 3 or 4 days trying to get a hold of somebody at Facebook to fix the issue.
That's a nightmare.
So it's not just, and WordPress is notorious for this, but it's not just websites. It's how do you protect your social media?
Everything.
It's how do you protect it's not only how do you protect it from things like that happening, but how do you protect your privacy as far as your security settings and your privacy settings. I see something else happening later in the year for us around this subject.
Because I do it as part of a course that I offer already, and what I found really hard is trying to keep it at a level where I'm not scaring people or confusing people.
Right.
There's some really basic things that you can do to protect yourself, but it's just knowing that you need to do that. And I think there's always that myth of, but I'm not keeping details, and I'm not holding anything of a personal nature of anybody else's, so I'll be fine. And
it's reputation management.
I own my domain. My business name is called Straight Talking Ginger. If straighttalkingginger.com got stolen and the reputation, that's my brand gone overnight. I need to protect that. So it's kind of like your intellectual property you're protecting. And I think there's a real lack of understanding, because people just they shy away from it because they think, oh, cybersecurity, I don't want to know anything about that, or it sounds too hard. It's a bit like accounting. It sounds a bit too hard. But
I guarantee you, this cruise line, his demographic is older people, and Facebook's demographic is becoming older and older. I guarantee you they lost business. And I was amazed that the agency didn't lose the contract. And this was because a young, unexperienced person did something really not smart, and it was a
so
disaster.
People, the result is we'll not only be doing our collaboration in spring for social media and all about your MO operating system, and then the how-to. We'll also be looking at something around security and how to protect your stuff and yourself, your brand. So there's another thing for you. So we're just coming up to the top of the hour already. Do you know that? Yeah.
It's amazing. I didn't think I was going to be able to. I thought I would be like head in the clouds today. This is what I needed. Get back into it. Get excited.
I know. I mean, that's it. And it's been great having Andrea come in. So apologies that. Oh yeah, Hilary, you're totally right. Collaborations rock, and that was one of the reasons that Cara and I got to know one another. I love your phrase. What is it you say? A sister from another mister.
Sister from another mister.
So yeah, collaborations is definitely the way to go. And actually, from a small business point of view, just circling back nicely, do you see my link here? From a strengths point of view, circle back around. It's exactly what we always talk about strengths. So the reason we collaborate is, whilst we complement one another, I can assure you social media is not my strength. Hands up. That's Cara's gig.
Productivity is always a work in progress.
And that's the kind of thing that I am pretty good at now. I've kind of, as I say, like my color codes, like everything color coded.
Are your spices in your kitchen alphabetized? They are.
I know we're moving into the realms of OCD now.
So here's the difference between you and not. You know how I categorize my spices? Sweet and savory. Not interesting. Like baking spices and savory.
What do you
spices.
Do with things like cinnamon that can get in with both?
That's sweet. I just make a decision. I make a command decision.
That's how it works in your household. I like it.
Yes, exactly. Talking about different ways of doing things and how your mind works and how you.
Because that's what I always advocate. Is again, I see a lot of people putting out, this is how you must run your day. This is the only kind of calendar that you should use, and that's where people fall down, because they don't they can't follow that. That's your operating system. That's not somebody else's. So a bit of flexibility.
Yeah. So we'll put this on YouTube later. We both post the latest one on our websites. Oh, put your website in. I will put my website in.
Assuming it hasn't been hacked.
Right. And we will not be here next week because my grandma to my little one, will be here visiting, and family time is the most important time, and I'm not wasting a second. So we will not be here next week, but we'll be here the following week, and we'll put out, dates and times, and
just so that people know, the one that we're doing in a fortnight's time, we have a very special guest coming on to speak with us. Yeah, so watch out for that. This year is going to be about bringing some wonderful guests into
talking about outsourcing expertise that is not necessarily your skill. We're so smart, Kat.
We like to share. It's all good. It's all golden nuggets of wisdom, even if we do say so ourselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. This was a super fun one and a nice way to get back into it. And Kat, as always, you are a gem, and it's been fun.
Back at you, doll. Take care.
Signing off. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.